This episode of the Kelly and Erinn Show is brought to you by Kelly's Bake Shop. Did you know that everything at Kelly's, yes, everything, is 100% gluten free, plant based, dairy free, egg free, and peanut free? We also use high quality, nutrient dense ingredients like fair trade organic cocoa, organic and fair trade sugar, high protein fiber, and flour. Visit us in beautiful downtown Oakville at 259 Lakeshore Road East or order online at kellysexo.com. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Kelly and Erinn Show. We're so happy that you're here with us today and taking time out of your very busy schedules, especially as we dive back into the first week of school, which is so crazy that time is already here. But today, we really wanted to dive into a book that's been circling in our world and it's been gaining more and more traction. And the book is called What is Your Dream? And it's by Simon Squibb. And he has an incredible following online. And he basically goes around and he asks random people on the street, what is your dream? And he gets what people's biggest, most crazy, most incredible dreams are out of them within a couple of minutes. So when we first read the first intro of this book and read the first chapter of this book, it really stopped us in our tracks because we thought this is exactly what so many people need to hear. So in this episode, we're going to explore that myth a little bit, why it shapes us, and also how we can begin to write the story of our own lives as well. So, Mom, let's jump on into it.
I love Simon Squibb, just love his book and everything that he stands for, because I think there is this part of him that is very much of a rebel. And I know that that's how really I was raised as well, or I raised myself that way, however you want to frame that. And last week was a very interesting story. So this is the catalyst behind this podcast episode, really, is that my mom came to visit. My 90-year-old mom came to visit, and I wanted to keep her busy. So I said, come up to my library where, I have all these books and stuff. And I said, pick any book you want. And she goes, no, not this one. I said, we can cooking, gardening stuff, whatever you want. No, she says, this one looks interesting. What's your dream? Okay. So I put her on the back deck and I let her read it. And I'm in the garden and she kept on firing all of these little life coaching things at me. Did you know this? Did you know this? Oh my gosh, this is so amazing. So I went, okay, I'm going to film her. So I did a quick little video of her. I tagged Simon in it. And lo and behold, they actually featured her on his account that has over, I think, something like 4.4 million followers. So here's Colleen, 90 years old, and with the arrow pointing down. If a 90-year-old tells you to read this book, it's probably a good thing to do. And anyways, the rest is history. It was really sweet.
It was, I just have to say, it was actually so funny when we told Nan that she was featured on Simon Squibb's page. And I was like, Nan, he has 4.4 million followers. And she's like, is that a lot? Like, she had no idea, like absolutely no concept at all as to what she was just posted on. It was very, very cute.
And so humble, so
Yeah.
oblivious to it, but not even in your ego. So, I mean, that's how we really should all be living, is that not putting people on pedestals. So we're not here to put Simon on any kind of pedestal. And I know he doesn't want to be revered that way either. It's just being this catalyst to help people see the things and reveal to them the things that are really holding them back. And I feel this, I know this, because I've been living probably the first even 50 years of my life, even more so, like, who am I kidding? The first 60 years of my life of living it as a myth that life has to be hard. Life is linear. Life has to begin at A and end at B, like there's this linear path, but it has to be hard to achieve your dreams. And it really doesn't. And this is what I hope that we can sort of explore a little bit more so in this episode, because once you start unraveling this groundwork of why you are where you are today, and really to acknowledge where you are today, all the steps that you took to get there by putting your dream on a shelf, that it wasn't that important. And you put it on the shelf maybe because your parents were over opinionated, or you married a person that was very uncomfortable if you went for your dreams, or there was a financial situation that you had to put your dream on a shelf and, look at it as a thing, as a future goal, maybe when you're 70 years old or something. But from when you're 20 to 60, it's like you're living something that is is not true to your core. It's not true to your very essence of what cultivates so much passion to rise up within you. But it's once you identify that, and it's not about financial, it's when you're living your dream, the money will come. Or I'm going to rephrase this, not necessarily the money will come, the success will come when you're living your dream. And whatever that is identified as success, and it could be just, having the lifestyle that you want, or the relationship that you want, or the joy in your heart that you want every morning and every night when you go to sleep at night. It's knowing that you've connected with something that is you. And there's an effortlessness that's attached to that. And that's when I say, and why I wanted to talk about this chapter today, was that the myth of life is that the harder you work, the richer you get. It's absolutely not true, because we don't need to work hard to achieve. We have to work smarter. We have to work connected to what flows within us. And then it's no longer work. It's creating that life that you simply love and embrace and celebrate every single day.
I love that. That was so well said. And I think if we go back to where all of this stems from in all
Mhm.
of us in society as we're growing up, from little kids to full grown adults and into retirement, we're all told to go to school, get a good job, save for your retirement. And then by the time you hit 65, then you can start enjoying your life. So it's this linear path of one thing leads to the next, leads to the next. And this is the myth of life that Simon really talks to and speaks about. That's so fascinating because at the end of the day, like, this myth itself isn't evil per se. It's meant to protect us. But then by protecting us, it's keeping us small, and it keeps so many people in their little bubbles where they, for decades and decades, are chasing security versus chasing actual meaning in their life and actually chasing those big, audacious, wild, over the top goals for their life and actually chasing their dream. And I think that's something that, I mean, I feel like more and more people now are starting to break out of the matrix, I want to say, of that linear path to success and that linear way of living, and saying, you know what, maybe I can start my own business. Maybe I can think a little bit differently. Maybe I can push the envelope in this way or that way. Because I mean, being entrepreneurs, it is the most rebel kind of thing that you can do in the business world, right? As to not actually have an employer, to not have someone to report into in that way, and to actually chase your dreams in that capacity. So I thought that was important to just kind of share where that actually stems from in society, that we're told things need to be so linear, but that's not reality. That's not you actually chasing your biggest dreams and chasing that beautiful meaning in life.
And I think too, we need to embrace the word embrace as opposed to chasing.
Yeah.
When you chase your dream, it is just something that's more elusive, and it's somewhere off into never, never land. But when you embrace it in your heart and know that that is your dream, like you're actually hugging it every single day, it is, it is you. It is your very essence. Most of our dreams have been eradicated from us from the school system. And I'm a big proponent of that, and I know it's exactly how Simon Squibb feels as well. I was definitely a rebel in high school. I couldn't handle high school, and, grade 13 was probably the most painful year for me in my life. That, I think I squeaked by with, like, a 65 average, but at that point, I didn't care because I knew I wasn't going to post-secondary, because to go to post-secondary meant that I was going to lose 4 years of my life, and I equated that to being, back then I knew I could make 40,000 a year. So besides university costing me a certain amount of money, whatever the tuition was back then, that would have been 1982, whatever tuition would have cost back then, and then I would have lost 160,000 in lost income. And I couldn't get over that thought process. And so hence I didn't put any effort forward in schooling, especially in my last probably 2 years of it. And I got sick of memorizing what the teachers were telling me to memorize. And I saw that the kids were doing well were the ones that were able to recite and memorize what the teachers were teaching them. And then I realized, wow, so I'm just memorizing what that teacher is telling me, But what happens if that teacher is wrong or I'm just seeing life through those teachers' eyes? Like how is that relevant to me? Like it was so disjointed and so like fingernails on a chalkboard for me. But I do know that that is how the school system is. You know, you get an A plus if you make the teacher happy and memorize what the teacher is teaching you. So there is nothing creative, there is nothing deep to learn. You're either doing, you know, like the research is reading from an encyclopedia back then in those days because we had no internet, or reading, you know, books that were written by certain people that saw life through their perspective again. Or you're now on Googling. And how censored is that? Well, we know that's a load of crap. So, you know, like the stuff that you're not learning is really the things that you need to learn. So, and what is out there is so massive and so creatively,
There you go.
I'm trying to say two words at the same time, creatively wild that when you live in a quantum reality that anything is possible, your dreams are here, your dreams are possible, all of it is possible in any way of how to get there, and you just never know how you're going to achieve them because we're dealing with frequencies and universal effects upon us that bring in things to us that we never dreamt possible that we're going to come that way. And if we could talk about finding Burlington
That's what I was just gonna segue us into. I said, let's tie this back.
in a
Yeah,
small way.
totally. And I think we can tie it back to finding Burlington, but I think before we do that, I would love to actually talk about, because I appreciate you sharing that that was your myth of life was just kind of like shattered and ripped apart when you were in high school and you were like, "Wait, like this doesn't make sense. Like why am I doing this? Why am I just going through the motions? Like I don't this doesn't feel good to me." And something I wanted to talk about was when you and I first opened Kelly's Bake Shop. People thought that we were crazy to create a 100% gluten-free, plant-based, peanut-free, all that good stuff bake shop. It wasn't part of their, safe script. It wasn't part of their version of reality that they were like, "Wait, does this actually make sense? No, this can't make sense. Kelly and Aaron can't have a successful business." And yet, if we had listened to the myth, none of Kelly's Bake Shop would exist in this present moment, which is just wild to think about. So it's like it took us taking that one step forward, that next step forward, and moving forward constantly in order to just break that myth of being like, wait, I don't have to like work for someone. My mom and I can work together and we can create a successful business. Like, why not? Why not? This episode of the Kelly and Erin Show is brought to you by Kelly's Bake Shop. Use code Kelly and Erin 5 for 5% off of your order when you visit kellysexo.com. That's Kelly and Erin 5. So KELLYANDERINN 5 at kellysexo.com.
And create a life.
Yes.
Create a life. And that was so much so following our dreams, and I'm grateful that your dream reflected mine, but I'm sure there's varying aspects to it too, right? It's not like, not like Erin's my groupie, guys. I don't okay, so, uh, let's get that clear. It was it was rising into being entrepreneurs, and because our roles too in our business are so different now, like, I actually see that too. So I'm embracing my dream big time, and Erin's embracing her dream big time because she's doing the business component of it and growing and doing the things that she wants to do. Like, it's just so fascinating to see us rise in so much joy and connection to our very essence, our very hearts. And there's a celebratory moment of that too, right? Of finding that gratitude. I just wanted to add that too as a segue is we all should be able to live this way with so much gratitude and I'm going to say presence that like our life is so short and it's so fleeting. And what are you going to fill your days up with? Because why would you want to fill them up with someone else's dream? Why would you want to work so hard and for somebody else and fill up someone else's dream when you should be filling up your own? Right? That's So
Yeah. And I would love for you to actually, I don't know if you have your notes with you of what Simon Squibb in his book, he was talking about when he was, this was like years and years ago, that somebody made a negative comment on one of his posts.
oh, yes,
And
right.
try to find that because I thought that that was so interesting because it's, yeah, it just shows
Because
the
he
collective consciousness.
right. So he did a post way back when he only had like a couple thousand followers, and it was about asking people, what's your dream? And he was reflecting on his moment, that present moment for himself was because when he was 15, he was kicked out of his home. So his dad dropped dead when he was just early 15 or late 14. And then he and his mother had problems together once the father passed, and they had a fight, and she told him to leave, and he left and he never came back. So he was essentially homeless and a street kid at that moment forward, and created a life though. He was doing gardening gigs. He did whatever it took to go and make some money and stuff. But anyways, fast forward, then he's now in his early 40s, and he's taking his son, his firstborn, to nursery school. And he went, wow, like, what a really cool life I have. Like, I've made it. I just sold my other business for a few $1 million. Like, I'm set now for life. I actually don't have to work. So I now want to help people try find their dreams, because it just seems like I'm living my dream, even though he wasn't at that moment. So there's a caveat there. But he posted a post then that was talking about his dream and living his dream and how cool it was. And someone piped in and said, it's okay for you, but not all of us get to dream. And he went, wow. Like, it was kind of, a hater comment, if you want to call it. And someone was getting sassy with them and kind of being, I don't call it like a victim mode. It was like, no, like, he took it as such a beautiful re-education for himself, going, there's some people that actually believe that they don't get to have a dream. And I went, wow. Like, that was huge for me too, because I just think everybody gets to have a dream. But that's sheer ignorance on my part. There are people that believe that they don't get to have a dream. Something as simple as that. Anyways, I took that in, and that's why I said to Erin, I said, I think that we need to explore this a little deeper, because there is this myth of life that you have to, like, the harder you work, the richer you get, the harder you work, the more successful you become. But it's not true. You don't have to work hard. You just have to work smarter in that, choosing your path, choosing the things that you want to work on. That doesn't mean it's hard. Like, my life every day is not hard work. My days are spent with, like, joy work, if you want to call it, or what can you call it, that is just joyful interaction, like joyful presence in all that I do, because I simply love doing what I'm doing. Even these podcasts I do with you, going, okay, we're not getting paid for it. It's like, but we're just imparting, like, and sharing our wisdom of where we've gone through to where we are today, and sharing our mindset too about certain things and certain nuances and the way that we live and the way that we think about life. Because sometimes too, it's all about just that quick shift and going, okay, I never thought about life that way. You change your whole perspective. Yes, everybody gets to have a dream. You do get to have a dream. Everybody gets to have a dream. Why would you ever think that you don't get to have a dream? Simple,
That's honestly so powerful.
but it's deep.
Yes, it's so, so deep. What I also like within that kind of same thread is the concept of when you honor your dream, you give other people permission to honor their dream as well. So I think it's not about dimming your light. If somebody says something that says, oh, but like not all of us can have a dream, it kind of makes you feel like, oh, should I be this like over the top then for my dream? Should I stay small? But if you're able to share that light and share that excitement for your dream, you are giving other people permission to do the same in whatever capacity that looks like for them. And I think that that's something that's really powerful that, yeah, just prevents people from shrinking and dimming their own light to compensate for someone else's feelings.
I agree with that. And I think that, to go back to what I mentioned about the perspective and changing your script, changing the programming, because we're all programmed. And if we actually do like a life review of what Kelly just said about what school did to me, school did a really good job of programming us all. It institutionalized us all. And I'm grateful for having more of a rebel soul in me because I shattered that illusion and for myself. And as much as I did it later in life, kind food, Kelly's Bake Shop, all that stuff really didn't come to be till I was like 47 years old. But, being a late bloomer is okay with me because better late than never. But all the life lessons I had up until that moment created what I had to be to actually then birth through Kind Food, Let Us Love Cafe, Kelly's Bake Shop, multiple locations, all the things we're going through, blah blah blah. It created that tenacity, it created that spunk and that desire to like, okay, I'm here. Like, I actually now have embraced this next pivot, this next iteration of my life. I've always wanted to bring optimal health to people. I've always wanted to inspire people to live their life as fully, authentically themselves with the most optimal health within their soul. Like that's just what I've wanted to do is be that catalyst for people. And now we get to see it happen. Now we get to see this actually could be contagious. This actually is so deeply needed. Sorry, to be connected to something that is so much greater than themselves. Everybody does get a chance to dream. Everybody gets to honor their dream. Everybody gets to connect to each other in just such a massively big, profound way, because that is all there is in life. Everything else is mere fluff. It's just an illusion. You're schooling the fear instilled inside of you, the illusion that you got A pluses all the way along the way because you could memorize good does not give you a life of your dreams. It just meant that you could memorize what the teacher taught you, and you are so much more than
You are so much more than that. And I think that's a beautiful segue into inviting our listeners, whoever's hanging out with us still at this point in the podcast right now. We want to ask you guys some questions and just to try to spark some intrigue, spark some thinking and just thinking outside of the box for your own life. So, what dream did you once put aside as impractical? Something that somebody told you that said, really, you really want to go for that? Or something that you've been scared to step forward into? How can you take one small action this week toward that dream, toward that goal, towards that vision for your life? And how can you just move forward every single day to be your best self, to show up as your best self, to inspire others around you to do the same?
I love that.
And I just think that this book, again, this is not sponsored, this is not anything, but this book is incredible. If you have the chance to go out and find this book, go on Amazon, go wherever and get What is Your Dream by Simon Squibb. Absolutely incredible. It's game changing. Kelly's going to hold it up right now so you can see a big, bright, beautiful yellow
What's
cover.
your dream?
Incredible.
I want to talk about Jamie Kennedy because we mentioned him.
Jamie Oliver.
Jamie Oliver. I'm so sorry. Jamie Oliver. I apologize. All these Jamies and how he lost everything, even laid off 1,000 staff in 2019, and how he never gave up his dream because, all the things hit, all the different things hit, whatever the reasons are for leveraging himself too far, too big, too whatever, but he closed down multiple locations of his restaurants and everything. And in 2022, 2023, reinvented himself again. And the comeback is bigger than the setback. I wanted to add this exactly, Erinn, because we all have setbacks, but the setbacks are these opportunities, and we have them every time. Like, I've been divorced 2 times. Like, don't think that those aren't setbacks for you. Not just emotionally and really emotionally, you get harmed really deeply. But there's a financial setback too to that, right? So it's like this whole package of being set back and then also, then reemerging as your new single self and you brush yourself off and you get back up and you go, ooh, okay, so that was fun. What's next? Losing 401 Brant Street. Okay, we fell, dust ourselves off, going, okay, so what's next? There's there life is this, and it's up and down, it's up and it's down, and it's all over the place. There's no beginning to an end. Is multiple hundreds of different ways that we can achieve our dreams, but nothing can ever remove this. Nothing can ever remove this this unique passion, this dream that you have that resonates deeply within you. Like, no matter what, that can't ever be erased.
I love that. That's so beautiful. And I think a perfect place to wrap up this episode. Thank you so much for tuning in to this episode of The Kelly and Erinn Show. If you've liked this episode, please leave us a review. Please subscribe to our podcast. Please subscribe to us on YouTube as well. If you're watching us on YouTube, you get to see our beautiful faces right now, too. And until next time, we're going to be chatting about something cool in the next episode. We're going to be talking about how we built Kelly's Bake Shop into a love brand and the reason behind, and basically our why behind Kelly's Bake Shop. So don't miss out on the next episode as well, coming to you soon.